had a total vomit sesh with my therapist. Like, this certain circumstance that I was just in, and it just dawned on me, like, in that moment, I felt so defeated and so frustrated and yet unable to communicate effectively in a way that would reach the other person and I would be understood and there would be like a connection. Like, I feel you, bro. And that doesn't fucking happen. And so you find yourself in one predicament after another, or with the expectation that, like, I communicated this, they seem to have received it, great, but then, like, they didn't follow through, they didn't do what they were supposed to, and then they gaslight you and say, like, well, you should have, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, but that's not what you said. You literally said this. I did that. I delivered. But then nothing came of it. Spent 13 hours on that. The gaslighting is a lot. This happens time and time and time again, and you find yourself so fucking frustrated and, like, defeated, and you can't seem to, like, how can I change who I am to meet them where they're at? What am I doing wrong? How am I being ineffective at communication? Like, how can I put in the extra effort to make sure I get my needs met? But I need this person. And if I don't have this person, well, then what's that mean? Well, that means that I either need to find another person, or I need to be able to do the job of that person just as well as that person does it, or pretty fucking close. So then what would that look like? I need to become an accountant or an attorney or a psychologist or whatever, right? And ever since I was tiny, I've literally done that. Like, that's a trauma response that I can't even blame on a shitty mom or a shitty dad. That is a survival mechanism that I've relied on, built myself. Staring at the person speaking to me and realizing what was happening, and that, like, here is a fluorescent sign of not going to compute, not going to be understood. And I'm tired of beating my head into a wall. And what is my only other option is, learn the system, learn the rules, learn the job of that person, and do it quickly. Here's your deadline, and do it well, because everything I do, I want to do well, and I want to prove that I can do it. And because the majority of the world will look at you and be like, what? That's no. And it's like, well, but if I can't rely on anybody else because I can't fucking communicate the same way they communicate or be received and understood, then I don't have a choice. My only choice is to give up or to become exactly what it is I need to get the results that I need to succeed. Part of the reason why you meet so many neurodivergent individuals who have not just so many special interests and, like, an array of hobbies and whatnot, but who have managed to find themselves with a degree or with certifications or with, I don't know, like, all the things, because at some point they didn't have a choice. And so we're all really quick to talk about childhood trauma and, like, fucked up parents, but also, like, what doesn't get talked about enough and, like, I told my therapist, it's trauma that I gave to myself, but really it's a trauma response from the trauma of the outside world and not fitting in, not being able to connect with other human beings, being able to feel heard, understood. And there really is nothing like worse than feeling chronically misunderstood. And feeling like the only person you can rely on in life is yourself. Which then creates trauma response of not asking for help, because one, you won't be able to find the language or the means in which to express yourself, to be received and get the help. You'll end up getting help that you didn't really ask for, but maybe you did, but you didn't explain it right. Or you didn't use the right context. You chose the wrong fucking details to give. Not realizing it, because those details are important to you, but you don't realize. And nobody tells you what the end goal is, so you don't even know which details to provide from the context, and there's an overwhelming amount of context. And so, but if you understood the strategy or understood C, then you know what A and B to give in order to get to C. And so when you don't give the right, you give like a little A and a big B, and they're like, yeah, no, yeah, sorry, that didn't work out the way we thought. And it's your fault. But and then of course there's like, okay, tell me exactly what you need and I'll deliver. I need A and B. You got it. A and B. Fail. What happened? I gave you A and B. Where is C? It equals C. Yeah, it was missing that one piece. Had we had that, we would have gotten C. Well, but you didn't tell me you needed that. Yeah, but that's common sense. That's not A or B. So therefore, that's not common sense. If you would have told me that you needed that, then I would have given it to you and we would have C. But you didn't tell me that. I was just doing what you told me, exactly like you told me, because when I give you more than what you tell me I'm too much. Too much detail, too much overwhelm. You're too much. I don't have time to go through all these A's and B's and F's. So, and now I give you exactly what you ask for. And when it's not enough, it's somehow my fault, because everybody would have known that that was obvious. And so when this happens over and over and over again, sometimes you choose to talk about it, and the response you receive is like, but I mean, you're the common denominator, like, perhaps you're the problem. But you don't feel like the problem. And so you go around and around and around and around and around and reprocessing and reprocessing and replaying and ruminating and replaying and ruminating and picking apart every single little piece of what went wrong and why, and nothing makes sense, and like, but they didn't ask for that, and you're taking things literally, and then you're like, again, overwhelmed and defeat, and like now there's this self-criticizing shame piece to unpack, because you are the common denominator. Why do I always have these fucking issues with people? And then to get the response of like, well, I mean, you are like a strong personality, you know, like lover or hater. Well, you're just unique. That takes a special kind of person to tolerate you. It's just right there. All that shit I just unpacked. We've got, what do we got? We got fucking childhood trauma. We've got neurodivergent trauma for sure. Communication difficulties, even if they're like, you can't put your finger on why. And that is a big piece as well, and why so many are overlooked, because we'll take on that blame, we'll take on that responsibility piece and accept that it's our fault. Be the good girl, be likable. It's just all of it. You got double empathy issues. And then on the back end, the avoidance, right? Why didn't you talk about it? Why didn't you ask for help? Because I swear to God, every time I've asked for help One, let me go ahead and take all the blame, and like, the whole reason I'm in this mess is because I clearly can't express myself effectively in order to be able to get the help that I need. It's somewhere I don't do it right. When I don't overthink it and I make it logical and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to bullet point out, this is exactly what I need or whatever. Then it's like I'm being an insensitive, cold bitch without a heart and unable to like feel and connect. And I'm just a robot, an insensitive robot. And that's so far from the truth. But what happens is you become that in response. You become that in response. Because you've run out of words to explain. God, I'm so tired of explaining and trying to explain and repeating myself. No more words, right? Like, no more words. Make the words stop. And so you shove it down and you avoid it because, one, you can't find the words. Two, you're so fucking exhausted to even find the words, to even give it any more effort to find the words. And really, at the end of the day, you're not going to be believed or you're not going to be understood or received anyhow. So why fucking try? Again. Like, I give up. I'll just figure it out myself. And then you'll hear in response, oh, what is that helpful? Are you being a victim? Like, always, like, always doing it wrong. Feel your feelings. Wait, but don't feel those feelings, because that's like victim-y. You felt the feelings too much, too long. Now you're just a martyr and a victim and like super Debbie Downer, and that's kind of yucky, gross. And nobody likes to, like, you know, that's like low vibe energy and like, ew. You should like get out and like do something and like not be sad, you know? But you just told me to feel my feelings. I know, but not like that. This is the shit. This is the world that we live in. I'm tapped out.